Hey, it's Mom, and tonight we're going to make shepherd's pie.
Okay, let's go ahead and start with the ingredients. About 1.5 pounds of ground beef. This is 1 onion that's been diced. Beef base. Frozen petite green peas. Frozen white corn. This is 2 carrots that have been peeled and diced. Flour, and mashed potatoes. There's about 6 potatoes here that have been mashed. But hey, if you don't know how to make mashed potatoes, you can just go ahead and click here and it'll take you to the link to our video on how to make them. Let's go ahead and start with the ground beef. I'm using a wok here because it's nice and deep, but you can use any pan that you think is deep enough to hold all the ingredients and make your gravy in. I've got about 1.5 pounds of ground beef here. You can use whatever you have in your freezer, whether it's 1 pound or 2 pounds. It depends on how many people that you're cooking for. I buy my ground beef in bulk, so this is about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds at the most, but this is about enough for 6 people to have shepherd's pie.
Okay, the hamburger is now all cooked through, so we're just going to go ahead and add the onions and carrots. Let them cook for just a few minutes in this. And I haven't strained off any of the fat from the hamburger. We're actually going to use that to make the roux, what we call roux, to thicken it or make the gravy. Now that the onions are translucent and the carrots are starting to cook, we're just going to add about 2 heaping tablespoons of flour. Just going to mix that in. Start with that amount of flour and see. You want to look at the bottom of the pan and see how much oil is still there. So you want to absorb most of the oil with the flour. I'm just going to let that flour cook in the pan for just a few minutes. I'm going to add just another spoonful of flour. It's a little bit more oil in there than I like to see. Let's mix that in. You just want to let that flour cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. Now that the flour has been cooking for a few minutes, we're just going to add some water to it. We add the water to the flour. It's going to make a gravy. And that is about 2 cups of water that we've added so far, and you can see that this is starting to thicken up. You can add a little bit more. That's another cup. You just want to add water until you get a nice gravy consistency. I'm just going to add a little bit more. Okay, see how that's kind of a nice gravy, saucy consistency. At this point, we're going to add some beef base. If you don't have beef base, you can use beef bouillon, or instead of using water, you can use beef broth out of a can or out of a carton. We're just going to start with about a heaping teaspoon and add that in. Mix it in really well. Then we just give it a taste, see how it tastes. If it's not strong enough, then we're going to add a little bit more. Don't put this into your mouth. We've talked about this on any of the other videos that you've watched. Don't stick it into your mouth because it's boiling and it's hot. It'll burn your tongue. So just let it sit for a few minutes, blow on it, and then give it a try. This is very close. I'm going to add just a little bit more beef base to it. Really, it's just going to take about 1/2 teaspoon more. It's really easy to add just a little bit more base than it is to try and take away something that's too strong or too salty. So just remember, add a little bit at a time, taste it, add more if you need it. If you like garlic, you can add a little bit of garlic salt or garlic powder to it. Or you can add a little bit of red wine to this to give it a more rich flavor. Now that the base is ready, there's a couple of different ways that you can go from here. So if you're ready to eat now, ready to put it in the oven, we're just going to add it to our casserole dish. And you can add the rest of the vegetables to it. If you're making this for later on, so if you're making this maybe a day ahead or in the morning to cook for tonight, go ahead and leave your vegetables still frozen. These have been sitting out, so they're thawed out. But if you want to cook it later, add your frozen vegetables. That will cool this down. Put it in the fridge, and then you're going to add your mashed potatoes to it later. We're ready to cook this now, so I'm going to add the corn and the peas now. This way everything will be nice and hot. Again, these have already been thawed out, so they're kind of ready to go. See how this is really hot, it's steaming. Just mix those in. And then we're just going to take our mashed potatoes that we cooked earlier. And these are still hot. And just add spoonfuls onto the top. Once you have a layer on top of your casserole, just use a fork and spread it out. I like to make lots of ridges and loops in it because everybody in my family, we like to eat the crusty top, and so the more ridges there are, the more crusty bits there are. We're just going to put this in the oven at 350. And you'll see, I'll show you video of how you know when it's ready, but it will start to bubble up around the sides. And once you start to see it poking through the middle and bubbling up through the middle, you know that it's good and ready to eat. It's actually ready to eat now because everything in here is cooked, but we like the potatoes to get nice and caramelized, crusty. Crunchy, crispy. Okay, we're going to put it in the oven at 350 now. Bake it, probably take about a half an hour, but we'll let you know as the time goes. Okay, it's been about a half an hour, and you can see that this is just bubbling. It's nice and brown and crispy on top. You could let it go if you wanted a little bit crispier than this, but it looks pretty good to me. Here we go, our finished product, shepherd's pie. Took us about 45 minutes to make. It's great to make on a cloudy day. It's nice, hearty, comfort food. If you like this, don't forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you have any questions or comments or requests, email me at momscookingadvice@gmail.com. Cheers! Until next time. Yummy, this is the best part right here. Rice Krispies. Nobody saw that.